Good evening, everybody, for episode 3 or 4, or maybe 5 of Rise Up After Dark. This night we are going to be doing Web3 gaming specific cryptocurrencies. I know that this is reversed, but on the list right now we have Immutable X, Beam, Illuvium, Forgotten Playlands, MYRIA games, DGI games, and Big Time games, or just Big Time, I should say, as cryptocurrencies that we will be reviewing tonight. Evan is not going to be able to make it tonight. But Alex will be. And we will also have some people from the Web3 community expected to hop in tonight to start taking a look and giving their opinions about the Web3 cryptocurrencies that we will be taking a look at. And yeah, it should be a good conversation, largely led by myself and Alex tonight. So hope you guys are good. You know, we got some time to kill, so if you guys are hopping in the comment section, hello, welcome. This is not sponsored by Michelob Ultra. Nor would I want it to be. I would rather have it be Guinness. I'm a Guinness man myself. But yeah, let me know how you guys are while we wait for Alex. Now, Alex, my thoughts on Tau. We're only going to be talking about Web3 gaming coins, but we have reviewed Tau. Alex, if you're in our Discord channel, guys, this is a good time for me to say, if you want to get all of the cryptocurrencies that we have rated, reviewed, analyzed, torn apart, praised, you can find it in the Discord channel, in the links on our bios, in TikTok, or Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can find the link to the Discord on riseupmorningshow.com. What up, Emily and Mia? How you doing? Evening, or wherever you are in the world. Happy whatever time it is. Now, guys, tonight, all of the cryptocurrencies we're going to be looking at are going to be Web3 gaming cryptocurrencies. Now, to set the table for the conversation, Web3 gaming is my favorite use case for blockchain technology, bar none. It is the same for Alex as well. And so before we dive into the altcoins, actually, I want to get Alex's opinion on this too. So, Check's king of real world assets? Sure. So I'll set the table for the conversation a little bit more when Alex hops in here. But what I will say is gaming has always been my favorite blockchain use case. And the reason why is because there are real world pain points that blockchain technology really helps to solve in gaming, both for gaming studios, for gamers, and it would really add a lot of benefits, and I'll talk more about that. The other reason why I really like gaming is because so many people who play video games today are already spending digital currencies. They're just not cryptocurrencies, like V-Bucks in Fortnite, or the in-game currencies for any of the top major games, like Counter-Strike. It's a first-person shooter game that's existed on desktop for a really long time on PC, and tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. The marketplace to buy like weapon skins and like armor skins and to change the color of your character, whatever, is a multi-billion-dollar industry. People are spending huge amounts of money on digital items in video games. Now, if you turn those items into NFTs, but you don't use the word NFT, right? You just say, here's your skin. And you let gamers who, let's say you spend $60 on the game, and let's say you play that game for 2 years, and then you spend another $40 buying skins for your character. At the end of those 2 years, you might never play that game ever again in your life. But what you could do is you could then take the skins that you have, bring them to a marketplace, sell them, and recoup some of your money back, right? So what this does is crypto gaming would lower the cost for gamers to be able to enjoy games the way they are today. And also it provides an additional long-term source of revenue for gaming studios because they could actually make money off of those secondary sales, right? So those are the reasons why I'm a really big fan of gaming tokens. But when we look to invest in gaming tokens, there are a lot of really bad investments out there. Now, a good game that gets a lot of players doesn't necessarily mean the price of the asset's going to go up. We've seen examples of that. Axie Infinity was a great example of that in 2020 to 2021. And we've had a lot of people hop into games today, like Big Time. Big Time has a lot of players at one point, back in like March, and was making a ton of money, and the price of the token went up, right? So if you have a gaming coin that does get a lot of players and a lot of people start talking about it, the price can really fly. The only problem is that there are so many Web3 games out there that are not getting players on them. And as a result, the price of that cryptocurrency does not go up, right? You really need to get an impressive amount of users in order for a specific gaming crypto token to go up, which is why I have always had the strategy. What up, Alex? It's why I have always had the strategy and mindset that from an investment standpoint, purely an investment standpoint, not necessarily like an enjoyment of the solution, but from an investment standpoint, I've always leaned more so towards investing in gaming infrastructure plays, the likes of which include Immutable X and Beam, because it's less risky in that sense. But those are just my thoughts. So Alex, I was just kind of setting the table of conversation. I opened things up by saying like the reasons why I'm big on Web3 gaming, it's been my favorite use case, is because there's the multi-billion-dollar industry of people spending money on digital items already. And people are already used to using things like V-Bucks to buy skins in a game. So you already have that player base. You just need a game now that gets them on there and then gets them using NFTs. And then, you know, I mentioned you could sell those NFTs when you're done playing the game and lower your total cost of ownership as a player. The gaming studio can make profit off that, which increases long-term cash flow for them. Oh, Michael's here too. I wasn't quite sure he was going to be able to join.
Yeah, so I'm excited. That's why one of the things I'm looking forward to about this one, or this stream in particular, is that if you just ask TikTok, what's up, dude?
What up?
What's up, guys?
Howdy.
If you just ask TikTok, like what's missing from Web3 gaming popping off, people will literally look you dead in the eyes and confidently tell you that we're just waiting for a good game to come out. And so what I brought tonight is a list of like the last 20 that I've personally played or watched a friend of mine play on stream. Just to
I'd love to hear that. Go through that list right now.
Yeah. Because these are all things, by the way, that you can just download mostly in the Epic Game Store or just on Steam. And you don't need to buy shit, make a wallet, do connections, whatever. These are literally what people will look you in the eyes and be like, this doesn't exist. It needs to exist. Like, brother, it's there.
Brother. Oh, dude,
I will say, I will caveat, getting on what a lot of people don't understand, and this is more from a game developer standpoint, is it is extremely easy to get into the Epic Game Store, almost as easy it is to get into the Google Play Store. The stores that should give you some kind of like nod, like, wow, that's impressive, is iOS and Steam. Because they make both of those platforms make you jump through a million hoops to be approved and get on it. So I always caveat that with people, because everyone's like, oh, Epic Games. And I'm like, I think my 85-year-old grandmother could get a game on Epic Game Store if she really wanted to.
No, that's a really good point, because another statistic just to keep in mind when people say like, oh, it's on Steam. Michael, maybe you know a more exact number, but I want to say that the rough figure of how many games launch on Steam every year is north of 20,000.
Pretty accurate.
It's another one of those things. Like, it's cool, and I think it's a big deal from an accessibility standpoint. But it's not like, oh my God, just to back up your point there, Michael. It's not the end all be all. So here's just a list of a few names that some of these have been around for a long time. Like the first one that I'm going to name is the first one I ever played, and I first played it literally years ago, and it's excellent, and I recommend it for sure. Gods Unchained.
Yeah.
We've then got Paravox, Moonray, Bloodloop. Wildcard is not fully out yet, but I've seen playtests and demos of it from people with early access. And I'm fortunate enough to get to talk to Katie Bettner. And she's fucking epic. And she's the CEO of Wildcard. Maelstrom, Parallel, which has really been making more headlines lately. Shrapnel, of course. Wanderers, Riftstorm, Sparkball, which is very much like Rocket League. ExoGP. Off the Grid is also not out, but coming very soon. And there's footage that exists. Treeverse. There's more and more gameplay getting posted about Treeverse every now and then. And holy shit, that one also looks fucking excellent. And that is just the list that we got through during Sam Stefanina's charity stream. These are all the ones we played on stream during that 24-hour period.
And Alex, what are your favorites then?
So oldest,
good question.
Oldest, Gods Unchained. Favorite from like a just hop in and like get in a group with a couple people and
hop in, have a good time.
Moonray has real like Quake vibes for me. I really enjoyed like, you know, kind of the rough graphics, but you get in there, you pop up a lobby with some friends and you just start like, you know, bashing each other in like a little private arena super quick. I mean, from start to play, it was like a minute to get in there. Once I had downloaded, there was not much to do. And so Moonray was a lot of fun. I actually did a stream with Icy Gaming, Derek, where we played Moonray. I really, really like Wanderers a lot. And that one is the next one that I've played the most of out of all of these, along with Shrapnel. Shrapnel's fucking sweet. Shrapnel, if you like first-person shooters, it's an extraction shooter, so I kind of like to call it just its baby Escape from Tarkov. It's not quite as detailed and serious, but same kind of vibe. So Shrapnel is excellent. The team is dope. They will talk to you. Like if you ping them on Twitter, there's a very good chance they'll say hey and hey, what's up? And I've met a couple of them in Consensus, and they're cool. Those are probably the big ones. Maelstrom was also really fun. But oldest favorite, Gods Unchained. Current favorite to play with a group, Moonray. And the one that I enjoy the look and feel of the most out of all these is probably Wanderers.
Wanderers, okay. So everyone who's in the chat right now, few things, right? First of all, you guys are probably familiar with myself and Alex as co-hosts of the Rise Up Morning Show. Now this is obviously Rise Up After Dark. Michael has hopped on an episode before, gave us great insight through his expertise as an attorney and a former attorney for the SEC, but is also a builder in the Web3 gaming space. Now, Alex and Michael are far closer and far more in the weeds and far more knowledgeable about Web3 gaming than I myself. As an investor, for me, I really just kind of stuck to investing in gaming infrastructure plays and looked at games as, you know, trying to pick like a needle in a haystack kind of thing, right? Almost as like just too risky to really spend my time looking at, which is why for me, I spend more time looking at DeFi because it's more measurable. And the thing is with gaming tokens, so many gaming tokens, in order to deliver a really good game, will have like a higher supply of the gaming token or a higher inflation rate, typically, not always, but typically. Which will make it worse as an investment, but it's needed for the actual like function of the game. And I think these guys can talk on that more. Michael seems like, nah, maybe not, maybe so. You know, I think Alex and I have talked about that before, and I say, well, the crypto will just continue to fractionalize, so you can just use that as the currency. But these guys are both far more knowledgeable than I am myself on this topic. So really curious to get both your guys' opinions on these games, where we're at. And I'm also curious, before we dive into specific coins, like, you know, we see Star Atlas was the first big game I saw that was like, we're building on the blockchain specifically, not using a scaling solution. It's like the big one I saw blow up, right? I mean, you had Axie Infinity on Ethereum too. CryptoKitties, you know, but like, you know, but back in the day.
Don't forget CryptoKitties. Can't forget where we've come from.
CryptoKitties deserves a shout out because not only were they widely regarded as like the first on-chain gaming experience, but also they're back and they are releasing a new Telegram hosted game, which is kind of a little bit of a trend right now.
Yeah.
Alongside actually the reincarnation of Flappy Bird as a Telegram hosted Web3 enabled game.
Hell yeah. So I'm curious, just let's take the Beams and the Immutable X's and the MYRIA games and push them out. Let's take these scaling solutions, these infrastructure plays, push them out. Which ecosystem, Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, Ronin, which ones here do you see leading the way in Web3 gaming right now? And maybe a slightly different answer, maybe the same. Which one do you think is potentially going to be the main home?
So me personally, I still think it's going to be Ethereum. And it's just because all the main scaling solutions right now, like the ones you just mentioned, the IMXs of the world, the Blast, the Ronins, they're all based off of the Ethereum blockchain already. So as they continue to grow, obviously that means Ethereum is going to continue to grow. The issue with all the other chains that I've been finding, because we get pitched, or at least my company gets pitched or at least reached out to by these different chains all the time. So new layer ones try to get us to launch on them, all these things. They don't have a player base. They don't have players. They also don't really have money to support a game to come on their chain versus like all these other players. So it's kind of like, what can you do for me that's better than what all of these already established places can do for me? And other than you trying to become this like super speculative play as like an infrastructure coin, there's not really much you can offer me in the long term that's going to make me want to choose you over any of these already very well established chains. So that's the biggest issue in my opinion with these new chains is like, yes, from the hype perspective, they might feel as if there's a lot of hype behind them, but when you actually get in the weeds, are they going to be here in a year or 2 years? I don't know, just because they don't have any users, and they don't have users as a game, I don't want to use them. So it's there's a lot of things that you can unpack there.
I'm a little bit, I'll say not a hard disagree, but I have a few different opinions. So again, one of those things that you'll confidently have someone look you dead in the eyes in a TikTok video and tell you is that Avalanche is the king chain of all Web3 gaming, and that's where everything is.
And I certainly get the opinion of that.
Yeah.
And have for months.
And that's what's really interesting, because I swear, like, take a walk over to crypto Twitter and ask some of those people, like, look up WolvesDAO, look up who WolvesDAO is following, and follow those people and get, just start intaking some more opinion and overview and, like, game reporting content from the streamers on that list and the other content creators on that list. WolvesDAO, I think, is a great way. Michael, I know you're familiar with them, to like get a list of people that are like genuinely solid creators. Yep. Another really big streamer who is actually also more recently on TikTok, but already just crushing it, is Bryson. He's fantastic. He's big on Twitter. That dude is working with everybody. He just won an award last year, some category of Streamer of the Year. Yeah. Solid, super entertaining streamer, but recently on TikTok, and he talks about Web3 gaming, and I think he talks about it in a very helpful way. I enjoy his perspective a lot. But you will find that Avalanche is there, they're present. Shrapnel is working on its own Avalanche subnet, but Shrapnel's kind of carrying Avalanche right now from like what I can see. And some of the chains that are, the networks, the ecosystems that are making a bigger splash, getting more volume out there, experimenting with more stuff. Ronin is constantly top of the charts in terms of just stuff that Sky Mavis is putting out, stuff that Ronin is supporting, funding, sourcing, the people in the Ronin ecosystem. There's a guy on Twitter, I'm trying to think of his username. It's Finn, Phin. It might just be Finn.ron, but he's phenomenal. Super great takes. If you follow Paul Bettner or Katie Bettner, they're also great. These are all names I'll share in Discord. I'll put a bunch of Twitter profiles that are great over there to follow and get some more gaming perspective. But Ronin's constantly top of the charts there. Base is working on making a name. There's some more stuff over there. Interestingly, I'm seeing a little bit more on-chain games happening on Base right now, just because it's cheaper.
Yes,
that's what I'm curious to see. Just because, if you have a game that gets built on Base, that's fun to play, and then you tie in Coinbase marketing budget, you know, you have a very powerful platform to launch off of.
Alex, I thought that was a really good mention of base. I think base is going to be huge for gaming. And I do agree with you about AVAX. If you talk to anybody on crypto Twitter, AVAX is the top dog, but I just think AVAX might have a much better marketing team than most people think. And in reality, the top dog, in my opinion, is Ronin. And then the second dog is IMX. And I don't actually even think it's close.
Immutable, for sure. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, Immutable has always kind of seems they've always seemed like, and Ronin really went under the radar screen for me until I started chatting with Alex, and then he said he's in the Twitter Spaces, and he was like, "Oh, dude, Ronin's blowing the hell up."
Oh yeah.
To me, Immutable X was always like the 800-pound like silverback gorilla in the space that was basically running monopoly on folks, and it's not necessarily the case they're big, but
I'm
the thing that. Oops, sorry, go on. No, go ahead.
Quick thought about why I like Ronin as well. For one very specific reason. I'm going to date myself a little bit here, not to you guys, but to people watching. I was in the audience when the CEO of Ronin was about to walk on stage right after he got the news that the Ronin DeFi bridge hack happened, which was the single biggest hack in DeFi history, almost
630 million, I think. Yeah.
Oh God.
And that dude took it on the chin, sacked up, walked out, did his entire presentation within hours of that news breaking. Everyone in the audience, it's the only thing we were thinking. There were hundreds of people watching. And he did the whole presentation. He kept it together. He left. And then Ronin went on to not only like fix it and come back from it, but continue to grow despite that happening. And now take the place that they have right now. And I just thought like that recovery was awe-inspiring, honestly. When I was lucky enough to meet Kathleen Rosgood at Consensus. She's the head of marketing and growth for Sky Mavis, another great Web3 gaming insider who has super solid takes. But I told her, I was like, dude, I don't mean to like be a fangirl here for a second, but like, that is the thing that solidified me with Ronin. Just watching that recovery happen and where you guys are right now in the whole gaming sphere after that happening, and the fact that it's only been a couple years and we're not talking about it and thinking about it anymore. And that would have crippled, if not completely eviscerated,
99% of other projects.
Yeah, no, Alex, I think you're completely right. And I remember that happened. It was March 2022 that the hack went through. And it was really, really great because it validated the aspect of ZK rollups and why all these chains are moving to zero knowledge rollups. So that's great versus just a side chain, which is what Ronin first initially set out to be. So it things like this, hacks like that, force innovation, and I'm here for it. Also, I just wanted to make a quick comment about Immutable. What a lot of people don't understand about Immutable X is Immutable and Immutable X are now, even though they're the same thing in terms of same company, they're technically now two different things, because Immutable X is more of the legacy system where all these games from 2021 were built on. It requires IMX to essentially do transactions and stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. The new Immutable ZK EVM that they're really aggressively promoting right now is a ZK EVM that doesn't require the IMX token. It allows companies who are launching games from it to launch their own tokens on it. And then obviously it comes with the beautiful passport system that Immutable has made. So it's really, really great for onboarding, in my opinion, the traditional style of gamer versus just the Web3 gamer. And that's why I think it's like choose your poison. Ronin has the users, Immutable has the tech. So what's kind of your gaming KPI as like an individual gaming company or an individual gaming ecosystem that you're looking for, and which one's going to help you better? For my social gaming platform, Andromeda, we chose Immutable because they had what we needed in terms of frictionless onboarding. However, we are in setting up meetings right now, or having meetings set up with Ronin, because they again have the players, so we have no issue being both places for our company. So
yeah, well, that's the biggest thing is gaming, and this is true for use cases outside of Web3 gaming too, is you have to be able to take the blockchain stuff and push it into the background so that the Web3 experience that users have, gamers have in this case, are exactly the same as Web2. Before we dive more into like Immutable X and particular project stuff, and also we'll get Alex back in here when he can, is there's a question here by Nick Johnson that, Michael, I think you're like uniquely positioned as a builder in the space to answer. And the question was, won't the eventual problem be storage for saved data on chain for the game? Now, my understanding is like you can just like build a regular game and then just have segments of it be on the blockchain, like NFTs and things like that. You can build a game entirely on chain, you know. So if you could kind of feel that question.
I'd love to answer that question. So what a lot of people don't realize, and this actually also goes for like NFTs, for example, is a lot of times for like NFTs and for these games, the entirety of the game is not on chain. Unfortunately, the technology, the actual chain software itself, is not to the point where you can save everything on chain, or else you would have the most expensive game in history because you would be paying gas fees for every single bullet you shot in your gun or something like that. And then
dude, that'd be crazy. Dude,
yes.
That'd be like real life where you see like an episode of Family Guy or whatever, and like they make bullets expensive, so gun violence goes down. And they're like, I would, but it's going to cost me $50.
Exactly. So that's the first thing, and then second thing, the chain itself would just be so slow. Now, decentralized storage applications are getting better to essentially handle this type of stuff. So we'll see like a mixture of like the on-chain P2P trade aspect of things and the on-chain decentralized storage system. It's not to the point yet where it's reliable enough to rely on fully. So for example, my company, we've just partnered with a decentralized storage company that we're going to do half of our stuff on there and then have the backup still be AWS. So then if one thing fails, there is that healthy backup. And then as the decentralized storage systems do get better and the technology improves, then you can start to feel a lot more confident. But until then, you don't want to essentially potentially tank your game just because you're championing decentralization when it's not at that point when it can be feasible to champion.
Sure. I mean, like, from my experience working in the tech space, for the past 15 years, everyone has been championing public data storage for businesses. A whole bunch of people move there, but the reality is that nobody is fully on a public data storage for their business. It's all hybrid, and it's all varying degrees of hybrid, and that's just the reality at the end of the day. There are certain things where public and private is good. There are certain things where centralized and decentralized are good. And if you go one versus the other whole hog, you're losing out on efficiencies that you need in order to run a business more efficiently. It's all about taking the best solution for the problem and addressing it that way and building a holistic solution there. That's true for so many things.
And Will, before we jump in, because I know that we're about to go to chains, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of that. That, in my opinion, is what will become the catalyst of Web3 gaming and take that Web3 moniker out of it, is when you can put a Web3 game up against a Web2 game, and people have no idea what the difference is. Other than the benefits of Web3, being able to trade your assets back and forth, being able to do all these various stuff that the blockchain allows, that's going to be the difference. Not guys, I had to learn how to create a wallet and I had to learn my seed phrase, and like none of that stuff is actually going to be what makes this an adopted space or what makes the public adopt this. So that's essentially the approach that we've taken as builders. And as I talk to more and more people in the space, you've learned that in this bull cycle, there's a lot more people now with that mindset. And it makes me super, super hopeful for the future of Web3 gaming or what I like to call blockchain enhanced gaming.
Yeah, dude. Well, I'm glad that that's the route that we're going, because, you know, I can't wait to get games in the hands of these people and then in the hands of like gamers as a whole. And then finally we have like a game that's trending in the top 10, top 5, maybe number 1 played game on Steam. And then all of a sudden you just see the price of Ethereum just, or maybe Avalanche or Solana, you know, right, what have you. But Alex, final thought, and then I want us to start hopping into some coins.
Perfect. That lines up perfectly, because I'm going to go tuck the kid in and all that good stuff in just a second. But to wrap this up, one little aside, to highlight what Michael is talking about of sort of like a measured approach to kind of baby stepping into the world of Web3 and not going like, you know, full frontal on chain from the jump, because obviously we'll lose a ton of people in that transition. There's not many players down for that. one thing that I'll highlight is that Counter-Strike, as a game and an ecosystem, has actually been selling in-game assets between players in Ethereum for years and for a ton of money. Some of these skins and things that people open in loot crates and stuff, and I'm not talking about like, oh, this started last year or the year before, like this goes back. These things get traded in online marketplaces in crypto, and it's been happening for years. And I think that makes Counter-Strike and the Counter-Strike ecosystem a Web3 ecosystem, because that's one of the things I give a shit about. I would call that, to be fair, Michael, to the hand wiggle, I would call it Web 2.5.
Yes, I was going to say 2.5 for sure.
To the hand wiggle.
You got to respect the hand wiggle. It always has a reason. But no, just to piggyback off of Michael before we kick it to individual projects and stuff. Michael, we might have talked about this before, but similar to Michael's gaming development philosophy when it comes to incorporating Web3, one of the things that I love, I recently saw phrased beautifully by a t-shirt from Token 2049 just yesterday, was someone who had a shirt that said, compute off-chain, verify on-chain. And I thought that was a really neat way of kind of wrapping this all up. And it just kind of reminds me of my own philosophy with the game that we're working on, or I've been working on now with my dad for quite some time, is I want to just create a game that lives and operates off-chain and gives someone a totally average, normal mobile gaming experience. And then when that person decides that they've done something in that game that they're like, I'm fucking proud of that, whether it's a character unlock, a kill streak, a victory, their first victory, their 10th victory, whatever it is, literally whatever it is, that there's an onboard mechanism for that person to take that thing and mint something to represent the occasion in the moment, and that goes into their like wallet scrapbook kind of thing. And
Alex,
then
we are going to have to jump on a call soon, my friend, because I don't think I've updated you on what we're doing at the Andromeda in a while, and exactly what you're saying is already there.
I knew that if you came to this stream tonight, that you and I were going to end up accidentally biz deving a semi meeting throughout the course of this entire stream. So one, I think that that's super valuable for people to get a peek behind the curtain on, and two, 100%, I'm very excited to talk to you about that, because I feel so strongly that that is like the way to get the biggest initial hurdle of people in and connect with that person who's like, God damn, I'm so stoked about this. I always hold this up as an example. Keep it right on my desk for this reason. This is my raid badge from Destiny 2. You have to earn this in game by completing a certain number of raids in a certain amount of time. They're expired. They won't make any more of these. And I wish so hard that I had an NFT to represent this thing. That would be so cool. And that's what I want to give people. I want to give people like, get this thing that you fucking love, that you're really proud of, and just let you mint it. You don't have to pay for it. You earned it. You minted it. You should be able to own it for sure. I'll be back in just a second, and I'll catch up.
All right, we'll get this kicked off. So I think a good coin to start with is Immutable X, since we've already kind of hit on it. Now, guys, if you're unfamiliar with Immutable X, I would call it a gaming infrastructure play. It is a ecosystem that helps make it easier for game developers to build Web3 games off of. It's been around for a number of years. It is also been, and this is a fun fact, it's been Australia's #1 startup for, I think, the past 2 years in a row. For like the entire country of Australia. It's been pretty cool. They have over 220 games that have been releasing this year and are slated to be released by the end of this year. And they've released some games like Gods Unchained, which has been around for a while, which had at one point a fairly high player count. Now it's a little bit lower, and that's kind of their focus. So their goal is not to get players on a game. Their goal is to get game developers to come and build and release games off them. If you're thinking about this as an investor, you can think about gaming infrastructure plays as investing in the companies that sold the shovels to the gold miners, and investing in individual gaming coins as like going out and trying to pan for gold. You might be able to get a bigger return, but you also might not find any gold. A little bit of a safer play to invest in the person selling the shovels. That's at least my analogy that I've always used. Michael, how else would you describe Immutable X to people?
Yeah, I always fondly describe them as a games launcher. So they are this platform that has a bunch of tools for games to build, or excuse me, for games to enable themselves to become blockchain games. And then they also have the games launcher platform that they will, promote your game. You can find it on their launcher, et cetera, et cetera. So very, very similar to Steam, minus the fact that Steam doesn't give you the actual tools to build your game.
Yeah. And some other things to say, because from a tool standpoint, Michael you mentioned, I say that as if you're not here, you mentioned that the technology is great. Immutable does a really, really good job of taking the Web3 stuff, the wallets, that needing of IMX tokens to pay for gas fees, no longer there as a part of Immutable, no longer a part of Immutable X. They've had partnerships with Polygon to develop their tech. They've had partnerships with Merit Circle DAO and Beam over on Avalanche. Ubisoft has mentioned a soft partnership with them, right? A big gaming company in the space. And, it seems like they have the technology stack to have a really great product. As an investor, you like to see that there's adoption of game developers coming and hopping on. You like to see that it's a leader in the space. So if you want an air quote safe exposure to the Web3 gaming trend as an investor, Immutable X is a pretty good one to go for. But something to be aware of with Immutable X from just purely an investment standpoint is it does have a high inflation rate of supply that can make it more difficult for its price to go up. Having said that, in 2023, Immutable X was in the top 10 performing cryptocurrencies of the top 100, right? Mm-hmm. Despite the high supply. If you have adoption amongst your targeted group, your targeted prospects, and you are in a trend that is hot, the supply doesn't matter from an investment standpoint. The price will go up. I don't know, Alex, do you have any thoughts on Immutable as an investment concerns, things you like about it?
Yeah, I do. But really quick, do you have a speaking request from Gcrod?
I do.
Okay. That is a WolvesDAO contributor that I was able to wrangle to come on and give us some insights and stuff.
Oh, lovely.
So
all right.
If you want to introduce yourself really quick.
Yo.
Hey.
Yeah,
welcome,
of
GC.
course. Hello. What up? Nice to meet you all. Yeah, so let me turn my camera on as well.
You might need a certain follower count to turn the camera on.
Yeah, that's fine.
I want to give a description of WolvesDAO. Also, now Alex mentioned them before, but to everybody else who's listening, WolvesDAO might be totally new.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll give a quick description of WolvesDAO and myself so everyone knows as well. So WolvesDAO is just a group that was created a long time ago by someone called Peyton. It was just to connect and have just the most dedicated people towards Web3 gaming. The people that don't go away, that are in the trenches every single day, no matter if the Bitcoin price is 10K or 100K. We don't give a fuck about the Bitcoin price. What we care about is gaming, and Web3 gaming is here to be developed, and someone needs to be in the trenches every single day, no matter if things are good or not. Okay, so that's what WolvesDAO is about, is having every single one, no matter if you are focused on being a developer, an artist, a business dev, if you do marketing, whatever you do, as long as it has to do with gaming, you have a place in WolvesDAO, and it's a closed group because that's the only way to actually filter the highest quality of people. So that's what WolvesDAO is. And then myself, I've been in this space since late 2021. And that's when I instantly, 2 months after being in the space, I started learning a lot about tokenomics and gaming. And that's instantly where I saw that Web3 had the potential in, and the only part of Web3 that I actually enjoyed and liked. So since then, I've worked for quite a few companies in Web3 gaming, just helped with marketing strategies, mostly community management, working with content creators and helping on that side of things. So yeah, I've been doing that for quite a long time now, and currently the community I work for is just dedicated to always throwing events for Web3 games.
Very cool, dude. So what do you see as your favorite development or the most important thing that like Web3 gaming from a development standpoint needs to do to keep pushing things forward, or what are some of the biggest challenges that you see?
I think, fascinatingly enough, and this might be a take that most people won't agree with, but I think most of the tech that we need at the moment is actually here already. And people might not agree, but if you look at Pirate Nation, for example, and what they've done so far in terms of at least on-chain games, you cannot say that they don't have, the other projects don't have enough to build in terms of tech-wise. It's there, it's right there. Pirate Nation has showed we have other on-chain games building, and I think that we finally reach a moment, maybe I would say only this year, where the tech is actually here, and now what we're actually missing is just the games. And we are finally in a moment also where we're starting to see the games come out, where you can actually get excited by the games, right? If you're a person who likes more like RuneScape type of thing, you have Raven Quest now. If you like more other type of games, have Trivers, for example, that's looking pretty good, and the playtest is coming. We have so many. If you like more just chill out strategy, Pirate Nation is amazing. Off the Grid is starting to pop off. So you're starting to see these actually big names and not just something that 5, 10 people follow, 15, 20 people and projects with massive followings would actually do well and continue doing well. And that's beyond understanding how to develop a game, how to market a game, they understand how to make a game that we want to play. Point. No matter about the coin, no matter about the NFT, not a single person, when they're playing off the grid, are caring about a coin or an NFT. Even in Pirate Nation, it's a fucking on-chain game, and I have several people I know that play in our community, and even my IRL friends that play Pirate Nation because they love the game. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what's so important at the moment that we've reached, and that's the reason why I wake up every day. I'm just excited to continue helping this space continue going forward.
Hey, dude, well, we're all excited to just have more and more games pump out. But I'm curious, do you think, and this is for a question for Alex and for Michael as well, do you think there are certain types of games that are harder to put onto, like, on-chain right now than others? Like, I love RTS games. I would imagine real-time strategy games are going to be more difficult to put on-chain. But I'm curious if that's the case. I see head nods. Or if there are other games that are a big challenge also.
Yeah, absolutely. Just from a developer standpoint, I don't think people understand how hard it is to develop like an MMORPG and to essentially be able to have all of these players playing in a simultaneous instance while also trying to make the game fully on chain is near impossible, even with today's technology. That is why I think Alex had said it before, you do things off chain and then you verify them on chain. That's why majority of these games are going to have to kind of do something like that. And it's only because, even in traditional gaming, some of these things are a strain on the servers. So it's like you have to find those ways to work with the technology and do the best to keep it on chain while keeping the game fast, making sure there's no KYC in the game, and also making sure that you're compliant with the regulations, because at the end of the day, you can make a really, really fun game, but if the SEC or one of these global regulatory bodies comes and, pounces on you, then your game is dead, your company's dead, and your dreams are probably dead forever. So there is a trade-off on both of like walking that fine line of a regulatory standpoint, while also making sure that the game actually works and it's fun for gamers. Like we were talking about the bullets, every signing a transaction for every bullet you see. But yes, these giant MMORPGs are going to be really, really tough to actually do on chain.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I was lucky enough to get to talk to William Quigley about, who, along with co-founding USDT Tether, he's the CEO and president of Rash Protocol, which is another one of those kind of like smaller chains that does some gaming stuff, been around for a while. And he was actually, I think, I might be misquoting this, I'd have to go back and read notes again, but I want to say he was involved with the original building of the game Ultima Online, which is one of those like old school, RPG ecosystems that actually had a pretty robust game economy as well. We'll talk about game economies like, EVE Online obviously has an incredible game economy, but RuneScape has a very robust game economy. Ultima had a very robust game economy. World of Warcraft game economy. All of these, like, it totally makes sense to inject money into and stuff, and have like those tokens be more things that you can own, just because people are literally working and earning them. But still, I mean, even going back to Ultima, the days of early Ultima, there was real world asset trading in there. We just didn't call it NFTs and crypto and stuff. And the term Web3 had not been invented by marketing agencies yet. But still, I mean, still the vibes were there. So
Yeah.
Even to add to what you're saying, Alexi, beyond the game, you said even Albion Online. Not many people know this, but a couple of years ago, you could actually make IRL money from Albion Online. That was just a way to make passes that people bought via premium, and some other people bought in the in-game marketplace, but actually then found a way to use gift cards, and then they would buy them with gift cards and give them to people. And Albion Online is like one of the most fascinating game economies that is still thriving to this day, and they revamped the whole thing not too long ago. And I think that's what's funny for people that actually enjoy game economies and exploring that side of things, whereas when you think about these games that have had such successes, it's not hard to figure out like Web3 actually makes a lot of sense in this. Now, of course, like you were saying earlier, shooters don't. Like some shooters like, bro, what you gonna put Web3 in Valorant? Like, okay, maybe some NFTs, but that's about it, right? And even then, it's quite questionable. But if you somehow can become a fraction of what Counter-Strike is, then there's money in the skin trading game. But even for those games and for shooters that want to be in Web3, I think 95 or 99% of them are doing it wrong, where you should actually start the other way around. Make a game, get players, get people recognizing you, get people wanting to collect stuff, and then like, oh, you want to collect it? Then as a gift, you can have this as an NFT.
So, Will, I know that you wanted to turn back and get some grading going, but I was going to say...
I'm fine with us just running with this conversation, because I think this is great. Because we can talk about altcoins and review them as an investment in any time, but we don't always have this kind of panel here to ask these kinds of questions. So I'm cool with just kind of running here.
For sure. So I'm really curious just about a couple things, and I'd like to get Michael, both your and GC, your takes on these, just from the legal standpoint and the like examining tokenomics standpoint. There's a relatively hot debate in the Web3 gaming space, right? Like, to TGE or not to TGE. And I recently...
Hey, what is TGE?
TGE stands for Token Generation Event, which is basically just the day that the game like mints its token and the sale starts. There's pre-sale investors, right, that get in ahead of time, that sign their SAFT agreements. Michael, I'm going to let you handle that, because you'll do a way better and faster and more educated job explaining that shit than me. And then, of course, public sale happens, and price does this, and then we hope that it does this instead of more of this. So
that's better than any technical analysis I've ever done.
That's the extent of my charting knowledge, guys. Okay, like I know that's about all I know. But no, just so in the debate, like to launch a token or to not launch a token, I am now starting to see more legitimate conversation being had, where there's like a little bit more credibility being given to the idea, like, hey, wait a minute, perhaps not everyone needs to launch their own token on day one.
Yes.
And of course, my own personal history with that, right? Like, I lost a huge grant because I refused to launch a token, and now my game is unfunded, and me and my dad are doing it by ourselves. Yeah. I think
thumbs up. Great.
So, Alex, I want to commend you for your moral compass, because that is awesome, and that is the ethical nature that we need from founders and builders in the space. Because I personally believe, at least with all the Web3 games in the space, literally every single one of them that are still alive, so I'm not talking about the dead ones, maybe out of them, like 10%, less than 10% have a reason to have a token. Everything else, even some of the best games that are like, this is a really good game, absolutely don't need to have a token, and there's no reason for them to have a token other than speculation.
Yep.
A lot of times what you're seeing is the only revenue streams these games have is their token speculation. And if you show me a game that their only revenue stream is selling NFTs and token speculation, I'm going to show you a game that's going to fail really quickly as they go to market and as the cycle ends. Because you think of traditional games and why they're so successful. They're successful for two reasons. One, because people enjoy playing them, and two, because people enjoy spending their money inside of them. Because obviously, any game that's successful is also making money. So if the only way that you've set up your game is through speculation, which obviously is a fleeting thing amongst people's psychology, or selling NFTs, which obviously is a market speculative thing that goes on in cycles, then your game's probably going to fail because you don't have these reoccurring revenue streams where people are spending every single day, despite recessions, despite bear cycles, despite this, despite that. So when a game is starting to approach the aspect of, hey, should we have a TGE or not? Really, they need to ask themselves, why are they having the TGE? Is it to raise money? Because if it is, just be honest and say, hey, we're going to be raising money with the TGE. And if you're going to be raising money with the TGE, you need to do it with accredited investors. You need to potentially be offshore if you don't want to do the securities filings. But that's huge. Now, if you're launching a token for actual utility reasons that work inside your game, then more power to you. What I do suggest, though, in those scenarios is having an in-game currency that you use and that is actually being traded or being used in the game prior to launching it as a cryptocurrency as well. And the reason for that is there's actually a really solid SEC case from, I want to say 2017 or 2018, where Kik, the messaging app, Kik, K-I-K, was basically being sued by the SEC for an unregistered security sale for their cryptocurrency token. And the reason that Kik was able to win this lawsuit was because they already had a token that people were using that wasn't a cryptocurrency that had been in circulation for a little while at that time. And because this other token was already in circulation, it basically said that this token wasn't sold as like a speculative investment because there was already a use case and utility for it within the ecosystem. So it goes to show that these games that are launching tokens should launch their game with a token in it first, like not a cryptocurrency to raise money, like an actual in-game currency that everybody uses, have that start to transact, have players come in, and then you launch your cryptocurrency. And you only launch the cryptocurrency if you have a good reason to launch your cryptocurrency. Because exactly what you're saying, why the hell does a shooter need a cryptocurrency? It really doesn't. It just needs an in-game currency. Unless the goal of the cryptocurrency is to accumulate that currency in game and then convert it to a crypto so you can cash out later. That's the only time it makes sense. But if it's only used to buy skins in game, then there's really no reason for you to have any kind of cryptocurrency in the game.
Yeah, and on the topic of the SEC, this is a slight change of topic, but related to the SEC. Unless GC, you had an extra comment you wanted to add on.
I wanted to just because I know he doesn't have a ton of time, I wanted to hear just a little bit from like a raw like tokenomic standpoint, because I know that's a little bit more of your focus. When you see a game that is going to be launching with a tradable, fungible cryptocurrency token, I guess, do you have like a go-to list of red flags or some things that you would recommend people keep in mind when they look at these things to kind of help make sense of it?
Oh yeah, of course. There's like, I worked as a tokenomics researcher for about 7 months, and I ended up researching over 50 gaming tokens, just so people are kind of aware why I'm going to say. But as the more and more tokens you research, the faster and faster you are at reading these red flags, and it becomes so easy to see them that you're like, everyone should know this, so I'm always happy to talk about them. So first of all, it's the amount of tokens that people put onto any kind of pre-sales, no matter the phase, if it's KOLs, if it's private investors, if it's bigger groups. So that's a big thing. And then also the time of vesting. If they are all getting vested and getting a high percentage at TGE, so when the token is generated, if they are getting a lot of unlocked tokens at that step, or that's day 0 or day 1, right? And if they are getting those unlocked before the public, that's simple. Everyone's going to dump the tokens before you, and you'll be buying the tokens that they are selling for 5x, 10x, 15x, 20x profit, and then you'll be holding your bags that will go up, but it'll just permanently be going down because they'll be printing tokens every month. So that's the first one that you need to see, and that's always on a white paper on a website somewhere. Sometimes it's hidden in the Discord, but legally they need to tell you every single tokenomic breakdown detail. Some teams don't open a ticket and tell them legally they need to, because I've talked with teams about this. I've had teams tell me, oh, but I don't know tokenomics. I'm like, then if you don't know tokenomics, I'm going to report you. And they're like, oh, we'll find them. And then they send you it, right? They always end up sending you it. So that's the major top one red flag. Then a second one is when they keep changing tokenomics like really close to the launch. Because I've seen this happen several times, where it's like, it's a month before the launch and they're like, oh, we're going to revamp just this and this. And then 2 weeks before, I'm going to revamp this and this. And like, bro, why do they keep doing this? And then a week before, they do it again. And the reason why they do that is because they a lot of times they start getting pressure from the early investors, because they don't think the token launch would do that well, so they want better terms. And since the project hasn't launched, the token hasn't launched yet, the project does need to be able to refund if these private investors want to be refunded. And the project doesn't want to refund any money because that's the money they need to develop the game, right?
Yep.
So what ends up happening is they make the terms way better for the early investors, and then who gets fucked? Us, because we did not early invest and are not in the same step as them. So there's a lot of these things. And then just a major one. If you go into a Discord and if they are not willing to talk about the tokenomics, if they are not willing to answer your questions, if they don't have something explaining on their website or at least a good FAQ about it, that's you should be smelling something wrong, you know? So when you get in the kitchen, you have some fish in your trash for like a whole day, and then your kitchen smells rotten. It's exactly the same thing, right?
Yeah. The only thing though that I would
example,
say, Gcrod, on a project not giving their tokenomics is I have seen term sheets where the lead investor makes them not release their tokenomics like to the public until that lead investor signs off on them being able to release into the public. And then I've also seen it the other way, that while teams are still searching for that lead investor, they will be hesitant to release their tokenomics for this exact reason, because a lot of these term sheets, the lead investors have the right to adjust the tokenomics slightly, not like in an overwhelming way that obviously benefits them, but they do have the right to kind of have final say. So that is, I agree with you from the red flag standpoint, but that is one of the only explanations I would accept for that red flag.
Oh yeah, for sure. And even because some of those lead investors end up signing in as advisors as well, right? So then they do have that power to at least slightly change or advise on things, right? So yeah, definitely. There's always that exception, which doesn't happen often, but it can happen. And that's true. That's one of the few that you can think like, okay, that's fine. But just for those that don't know much about tokenomics and that want to understand what's a good detailed breakdown, if you go on Honeyland is really easy to spell. You search it on YouTube. They have a whole playlist series of the founder explaining the tokenomics.
Oh,
it has
HXD is the ticker for that, isn't it? Or
yeah,
it's on
exactly,
Solana.
exactly.
It's like the B game, right?
Yeah.
The CEO is out there talking all the time. Yeah.
It's one of if not the best tokenomics breakdown for a game that I've seen. And that's the kind of thing that you should be wanting from a team that's actually full transparent. There's more out there that are pretty good, but Honeyland's one of the best ones because he actually talks about every single thing he wants to do with the token and the full tokenomics breakdown. And every other week or so, he also does office hours, YouTube AMA, where if you ask something about tokenomics and why the price is going down, he'll answer every single thing. So it's just how they are, right? And that's the kind of thing that you also should be forcing, but trying to have projects and people and founders do that themselves. Because if we do talk shit about people who do it wrong, but then end up buying the tokens either way, they don't care. We're giving them the money and liquidity, so they keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna ask you actually what projects you thought are doing things the best from that have a token, from a token release standpoint and from a game development standpoint. So Honeyland's one, but GC, what are some of the other ones that might come to mind?
Okay, so I don't wanna. I'll only say names that I really, really like. because I don't want to say half names that might become rug pulls in like a week or 2 months or 6 months. So
Sure.
I'll say Honeylands, I'll say Infinigods, I'll say Fableborn, I'll say Treeverse. Off the Grid is a pretty good one. Then Pirate Nation is fucking established. It's here to stay. I think Spellborn might be a hidden gem. It's also it's also going to be a fully on-chain game in terms of collecting monsters, kind of Pokemon styled, and that they're one of those where you think they're nothing, but when you actually research them, they've been building a community in a game for like 2.5 years non-stop. So those I think are the powerhouses that would actually thrive in Web3, and most of them will come from projects that have been building for 3 years and from communities that no one know, but they have such strong, tight communities that they did not need to sell their soul to investors that don't care about them, and that will just end up being a really negative overall force for the project, right? So those that come from community, I think those are the key ones. I'm sure there's like quite a few more that I don't remember the name right now, but I rather not like say random names. So yeah, I'll keep it short.
I'll agree with all of them and include Raven Quest in there as well. I like their tokenomics.
Yeah, Raven Quest. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool. It's funny. I think I'm giving myself the most homework out of any of the live shows that we've had. I already have like a full page of them to dive into after this, so I'm pumped about that. One question I want to ask you, both to the lawyer and to the developer, and it has to do with the SEC's recent attack against OpenSea and NFTs being unregistered securities, obviously going into Web3 gaming too, with NFT gaming assets. So I'm curious, Michael, to get your take on that, and I'd love to get your explanation from a former SEC lawyer to everybody about the defense and the attack strategy for SECs and also NFTs. And then GC, I'd like to get your opinion as to how that release of that news may or may not have affected the game development community in Web3 gaming and kind of what the talk is there. So, but Michael, if you want to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to clarify, I am now a retired lawyer and a full-time CEO of a Web3 social gaming platform. So just wanted to, I am technically a developer now. But yes, no. So I love this question because I actually told my business partners 2 years ago that this was coming because I have friends still in the SEC and they're like, yes, they're gonna go after NFTs soon. They're just gonna go after DeFi first. And you saw them go after DeFi, and now they feel comfortable enough to go after NFTs. So that's why they're going after NFTs. The big thing about the Wells notice to OpenSea is more so, in my opinion, about some of the projects that launched on OpenSea were rug pulls. And when I say some, I'm going to say many of the projects that launched on OpenSea were rug pulls. Some of them OpenSea even verified at a specific time. So that is going to be the reason that OpenSea gets in trouble, because a lot of these projects that were listed on OpenSea had certain disclosures they made to the community that were like, hey, you're going to make a ton of money by literally using the word investing into our NFT collection, get on the whitelist, blah, 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 blah. And OpenSea would list it because this token or this NFT now had a ton of hype. And so is OpenSea going to get in a ton of trouble for that? In my opinion, absolutely, because they knew, or they should have known and done the due diligence on these projects to not list them the same way that Coinbase generally doesn't list a rug pulled token on Coinbase. OpenSea is kind of held to that same standard of like, listen, these were being sold as investment vehicles. You guys listed them on your platform. You then became an unregistered brokerage agency, and we're going to come after you. And that's basically what the SEC is doing right now. That one of the reasons that my company actually went after its own digital asset service provider license was because we knew that this was coming down the pipeline for our own NFT marketplace. And this could have wide-ranging effects in terms of like, we don't know what this court case will yield in terms of precedent. And we don't know if it'll obviously end up in settlement like most of these cases do. But if any precedent is set from this, it could set that negative precedent that every single NFT marketplace has to be registered in some way, shape, or form as a brokerage or as a commodities trading exchange. And that, in my opinion, absolutely kills a lot of what NFTs are trying to do, because obviously most NFTs are digital collectibles, not securities, other than obviously the few that disclose themselves to basically be securities by how they marketed themselves. But if they're not a security, they shouldn't fall. But I do think we'll see OpenSea go through some rough times, which based off of their behavior over the last 3 years, there's no love lost here.
Yeah, I was curious about that, Michael. I know you and I talked offline a little bit about it, but one, just, if your contacts still in the commission think in a post Chevron world that's still probably the case, that NFTs get gone after hard. And from the little bit that I know and understand from research and talking to you, it seems like, even to a layperson like me in the legal sense, that the case against OpenSea, considering mints that they facilitated and ran and supported the advertising of, that to me seems like a really hard thing to argue against. And it seems like even in a post Chevron world with the SEC, there's got to be pretty solid precedent to base those charges on. Is that right?
100%. So this, in my opinion, this Wells notice isn't some out of their crazy thing. This is, hey, there is set law for selling securities or exchanges that are selling securities. There's set standards of what you need to do. And you let all of these clowns who just rug pulled all these projects launch on your platform. Some of them you even helped through it yourself. You're in trouble. You're going to have to pay the fine, or, we're going to come shut you down. I have a feeling you're going to just pay the fine. And they're going to try to settle as quickly as possible because they're not going to want this to go to a courtroom. But this is one of the things that, in my opinion, the SEC is right on, in terms of we need this kind of enforcement, because we can't just let these rug pull scammers do whatever they want and then kind of get off scot-free. And OpenSea absolutely allowed that to happen over and over and over and over again, because they did no due diligence other than, oh, you have 100,000 followers on your Twitter, that must mean you're awesome. We're going to help support you. Even though, as we know now, 99% of those followers were bots in the first place that were just used to generate hype and get people excited for vaporware.
Mm-hmm. And then OpenSea got to interview Donald Trump. No, I'm thinking of Farouk. But yeah. So you're saying that we're rooting for the SEC in this case?
Never, but I do want, at the end of the day, bad actors do need to be brought to heel, as they say. And if you're going to facilitate bad actors over and over and over and over again without any due diligence, then it's on you.
I think it's fair to say, to be honest, and I think we all know, right, that I am not the biggest SEC fan, although I do thoroughly enjoy reading a good dissenting opinion from Hester. Those are my favorite Sunday morning leisure read. I honestly, not even kidding, showing myself as a true nerd here, I go back and reread them just because they're fucking solid. But if what we want is real measured forward progress as an industry, we have to be okay when the legitimate malicious actors who are actually out here deceiving people knowingly and siphoning liquidity out and taking money from people and leaving people with that shitty taste in their mouth, whether it's a game that launches a crappy token or just some asshole that launches a crappy NFT mint for no reason, and promises the moon and then dips. We do want those people to be held accountable for, and we've seen it happen before. It needs to happen more often. I would rather see the SEC go after OpenSea for that than to continue to go after Uniswap. Unless, of course, it's a similar story if Uniswap is also out there minting shit tokens or not just facilitating aftermarket second party trading. But lots of nuance and context there, probably for a different stream. But
yeah, well, I think it became clear to the folks in the audience, and I know a lot of people are out there worried that the SEC in their lawsuit against OpenSea will try to label NFTs as securities. That has just kind of seemed like an argument that would fall flat, but they'll find projects and malpractice at OpenSea that are then finable and punishable by law. Because, so many NFTs are digital collectibles. If an NFT is a security that's a digital collectible, so is all of my Pokemon cards that I have in my apartment and your Magic cards, Alex, and all that. So from that standpoint, DC, I'm curious, has this Wells notice had any effect with any concern in the development side in your experience? And also, Michael, you gave your legal answer, I'm curious if there are any concern amongst your developer team and other developers you know as well. But GC, if you want to take that first, go for it.
Yeah, of course. I'll even just quickly talk about what you guys were talking about. OpenSea is definitely in the wrong here. OpenSea definitely deserves to get fined by a lot. That's what's going to happen, I think, for sure. Both the SEC and OpenSea don't want to go further with this. For SEC, it's kind of a waste of time. They want the money. They'll be out of there. They don't want to be taking like fucking ages to battle that NFTs as securities, because we all know that will just be in never-ending war with no success to anyone. So they'll just take the money as they like to take, and that should be over sooner than we expect. And OpenSea will give them an extra million or 5 million, 10 million, if that means that they won't appear on any major news website for too long, so they can keep being the biggest marketplace in all of Web3. So yeah, I think that's basically what's going to happen in OpenSea. There won't be much to the story at the end of the day. I think in less than 1 to 3 months, it's all gonna go past shit. But OpenSea fully deserves that, because we all know the shit they did, and they basically used major scam hype projects to get hype on themselves, so they could proclaim or self-claim they are the biggest marketplace. Whereas I would say that Blur is a much better marketplace that actually supports less rug pulls, although it is for wash trading. So then you also have that problem at the end of the day. So it is what it is. But to go on to the developer side of things, I think actually we've never been in a better place for developers, because although things sometimes do look a bit scary, and I see lots of people in WolvesDAO, sometimes they're a bit afraid, but the truth is, the more we evolve, the more of these people that actually get sued and bad actors get called out. It means that the good actors actually understand, oh, they're actually not here to pursue after us. They're here to pursue after the shitheads that do all the shit and rug pull and scam, and they're not actually here trying to build. So I think that's a funny thing, that although sometimes things might look scary from an outside perspective, but from an inside perspective, and from all the developers that I talk to like almost every single day, and projects I talk with, they actually seem quite comfortable and quite happy with how things have been evolving the past few months and years. So I think actually we've never been in such a good spot for developers and anyone trying to actually do good things in Web3.
Yeah, I would 1,000,000% agree with GC there. The only time developers, in my opinion, have to be afraid in this sense is in terms of what they're saying to their communities and to the public. So if they're saying, hey guys, we're launching this NFT and it's going to accrue in value and you're going to get rich, then guess what? That developer is going to get in trouble. If they're saying, hey guys, hold this NFT for a long time and we're going to be putting in a ton of work, and when we're done, you can sell it for a lot of money, they're going to get in trouble. Also, the one thing that I've trained my own developers on is using the word digital collectible whenever they're talking in public about any of this stuff. And it's only because there is actual legal precedent that distinguish collectibles from commodities and from securities. So if you use the collectible language, it's kind of reinforcing this aspect of like, okay, your terms and conditions say collectibles, all of your messaging says collectibles, all of your marketing materials say collectibles. It kind of, if you then get audited by the SEC or the CFTC, you're like, listen, where did I ever say security or commodity? Where did I ever say that we're accruing in value? Where did I ever guarantee anything to these people other than giving them collectibles? So I would say GC is 100% on point there, being like, this is the best time ever for developers because of all the tools, all the hope, all the optimism, because majority of people had no idea what this was 4 years ago until they discovered Axie Infinity. So the fact that now it's plausible and there's actual pathways to make these games and make them fun and make them in a way that even Web 2 players are going to come in and play them, best time ever. As you just got to watch yourself in terms of how you represent it to the public.
So we're moving away from the Moon Boy talk. Oh man, like officially being in the white paper and all the tweets and the we're gonna go to the moon and everyone's gonna get a Lambo because you were able to, like, I don't know, steal someone's ship and sell it on the NFT marketplace, which is one of my favorite that's what got me first excited about Star Atlas, when someone just literally went, like, I think it was a tweet, like, wait, I can literally be a bounty hunter and steal someone's ship and go and sell it. And I was like, I want to do that so bad. It's like, I want to do that so badly.
Oh yeah, no. To your point, Michael, that was one of the things. So back in 2021, in November, actually starting in about August of 2021, when we started to put the pieces together for our narrative-based ecosystem that had NFTs, the very first person that Mac and I sat down and I think we took probably 4 or 5 different consults with, and then the first person we hired was a securities attorney who was Web3 literate. And I'll tell you, August 2021, there was about 5 to choose from. And we ended up getting Andrew Bull Blockchain Law. Endless shout outs. He was amazing. But that was a dude who got rugged in Mount Gox. So, he earned his stripes there.
Alex, funny enough, just really quick, in November of 2021, I met an attorney who ran his own blockchain attorney firm, and I had to explain to him what a DAO was. And he was the name partner of the firm.
Oh, no.
And
Yep.
yes. And I just remember being like, good luck.
Yeah. No, dude, the first person that we talked to, we were maybe 30 seconds into the little meet and greet consult kind of thing, and Mac Mac texted me in the middle. He's like, "Bro, we got to end this meeting as fast as humanly possible. This is horrible." And it was the same kind of thing. It was like, dude, this guy's heard the word blockchain once, and he's calling himself a Web3 lawyer. But no, and that was
grifters exist in all industries, Alex.
Oh, for sure.
All
Yeah.
industries.
Of course. but no, I mean, that what Michael said, that is what we did. Every single piece of communication that came from any team member that ever saw the light of day publicly, including shit that we just said in the Discord general chat, the way that we would have conversations, went to this lawyer first, and he would vet every piece. And that was how it had to go, because I knew that everyone around me minting collections I knew that they were gonna pass me, and they were gonna get, bigger hype, do whatever, all of this kind of stuff. But I knew that they were breaking the law. And I was like, when the SEC comes knocking, whether it's in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I am not getting fined and getting rugged by the SEC because I decided that I could risk it, for a hyped mint by misleading people and talking about it that way. So we're over here just telling this story that I think Tori, if you're still in the chat, Tori's there from the very beginning. Tori remembers how it went. We're talking about telling a story and collecting, character pieces to tell your part of the story and your contribution to the story, and everything was just around the story. So, to tie it back to gaming, that's the way that I always look at these different game teams and game developers and projects and stuff that talk about having a token and, any tokenized asset in a game ecosystem, really. How are people talking about it? Tori, I will say that I don't think you were number one, because who was it? AJ, AJ, what was his username? Arizona TJ. Holy crap, TJ. He has the very first message ever posted. So maybe you beat him in, but he beat you to the punch in the general.
Shame.
No, just that's the first thing I look for is look at the marketing. I've sent Michael a couple screenshots before this. Hey, dude, check out this Twitter post that I just saw, and
Yeah, GC, I don't know if Alex told you, but we have a little group chat, him, Sam, and I, and they'll ask me a bunch of securities related crypto questions. So then when Sam is doing his Twitter spaces and people are trying to be like, "What are you talking about? You're not a lawyer." He's like, "Well, I talked to a former SEC attorney and he told me X, Y, and Z." So it's, I love the fact how much WolvesDAO does their homework on things. So I think that's great. And yes,
yeah,
Alex does send me screenshots all the time. He's like, "Hey, can you look at this and tell me what your opinion is?"
I do also love, and this isn't about the conversations with Alex and folks at WolvesDAO, but this is just more so people just in the crypto space, where Alex says so often you have been "Hey, that thing that you just talked about is illegal. You might want to talk to an attorney, just FYI." And it's either wide eyes like a deer in headlights, or it's immediately like just shitting on Alex, being like, "Oh, you're a hater, bro," and Alex is like, "No, I'm just trying to help." Anyway, if you just want to continue to just shoot yourself in the feet over and over again until the SEC comes knocking, you'll be my guest, I guess, you know? But there have been so many times where you have been like being the good, responsible adult in the room, and people are just like, no!
I tried.
That's not what I want to hear.
I heard this. I read this tweet one day that was like, "You're not behind. You're just not doing anything illegal." And I was like, "That's a very good statement to follow."
I'm gonna steal that. I like that a lot.
Just not doing anything illegal. Well, that's the thing. Then you get your money, you revoke your U.S. citizenship, and you go to Malta, and then you just live your life. You live your life.
You do the what was his name? The co-founder of Facebook, the one who didn't want to pay his taxes. You do the Eduardo.
Oh yeah. Ooh, or you do what the guys who ran that cryptocurrency exchange in Canada, I think it was a couple, they like faked their own death, but then they got found.
Yes.
I forget what exchange it was. But
I mean,
yeah,
that
like
was a pretty normal NFT rug excuse. The founder died in a car crash. Or I remember those posts being put up, and you know, I enjoyed them because they were hilarious. I felt bad for the people, but at the end of the day, you gotta. If Gullibil's written on the ceiling, you know what I mean? Then you know, go look up.
Yeah, that was one of those conversations we had as a team in the beginning with the first dev that like made the Mint wallet and stuff. I'm just like, hey, okay, so let's come up with the framework and the plan for what happens when you get hit by a bus tomorrow, because you live in Australia and I have no recourse if you get smoked by a kangaroo in the morning. So let's come up with a plan here.
Yeah. Well, so guys, two other developer kind of questions for both of you. If somebody wants to become a Web3 game developer, do they need any blockchain knowledge? Can they come straight from, you know, a Web2 gaming company building their own games? You know, what kinds of things do they need to have? What kind of resume do they need to have in order to, you know, kind of be brought onto a project and be a part of the team?
I think the tool, it's kind of like what GC said earlier. The tools are there now. So if you're a Web2 dev and you don't know anything about, you know, coding smart contracts or things like that, there's a lot of different game launchers like the IMXs of the world, for example, or even the AVAXs of the world, Third Web, who have made the tools to make it easy for you as a normal developer to use blockchain-based tools. And so because of the drag and drop nature of things in the space, or how it's becoming, you're going to have to learn a little bit, but not like technical on the technical side. You're just going to have to learn like the whys of why you're applying X, Y, and Z tool. But like overall, if you understand how to like program in Unreal or Unity, and you understand like, let's say like C++ for mobile or depending on what you're trying to develop on, you're going to be fine with the tools that are out there. You just have to find the right one with the right toolbox for you.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, 100%. Even as a quick example, the last project I worked for, we had a team of, I don't know, I think about 26 people. Out of those 26, about 18 were programmers, and out of those 18, only 4 of them really actually knew Web3 and were the ones programming the Web3 side of things. So the other ones had no idea about Web3. I mean, they had concepts, they understood it, right? But that's about it, right? They were just programming the game, doing the art, doing the music, everything around it. They kind of understand the concept because we wanted them to, because at the end of the day, they were building a Web3 game. But why would you need an artist or a guy that's programming on Unity to know Web3? You don't. Yeah. So yeah, there's no need for that prior knowledge. It's good to have, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Michael, can you piggyback on that for Jillian and just give the next? Her question was, what about a lawyer wanting to enter the Web3 space?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of very similar to trying to enter any kind of area of law. Usually what you try to do first is start networking with other lawyers who are in the space already, because those lawyers who are in the space will tell you things. So like, it's essentially like if you're trying to become a real estate lawyer, you're not going to go to a bunch of real estate events and try to meet the realtors, because you're trying to build your name, build your reputation. So then people want to actually come and hire you because you understand and know what you're talking about. Same thing here. It's just being visible, getting your name out there, starting to interact with people on Twitter. I will say definitely get on Twitter because at the end of the day, that is where 90% of crypto personalities live. So get on Twitter, start getting in Twitter Spaces, start connecting with other crypto lawyers, and then you'll quickly come to find that there's actual platforms that like list out crypto jobs, for example, and there's people who are always looking to hire attorneys, be it a startup trying to get their company going or a Web3 gaming company. It really depends. It also depends a little bit on your background. It was a lot easier as a lawyer to get in the space 4 years ago, just because no one still really knew what they were doing. But now there are a lot of lawyers like myself, for example, with a securities background, who I have a valuable voice in the space just because of what I've done in the past with law. So it depends on kind of what field of law you're coming from. But it is a skill set that people need. So if you're willing to kind of like do the legwork and start learning about the legal side of the space, and then doing that networking legwork, like I said, in terms of like connecting with the right people and starting to make yourself kind of a recognized face as like a lawyer in the space, that's your fastest way to get in the space. And then keep checking the Web3/crypto job boards, because there are legal positions listed quite often. It's just they're harder to get now than they were, like I said, 5 years ago, just because there's actual legitimate lawyers who come from this like financial regulatory background that are getting into the space. So it's harder, but it's very possible if you're willing to put in the legwork.
Yeah, I'll say just from a personal experience with friends of mine that are CPAs, not to say the same thing as a lawyer, but just that the thing that they did to become crypto CPAs was really just to buckle down and dig into Web3 research and figure out how their two industries could and should intersect. And then just to start being the one that like writes the content and makes the posts and shares the insights and say like, hey, well, coming from the Web2 world in accounting, here's how I would approach this type of a debacle or this type of a situation, or here's my opinion about how this could go in the future when XYZ happens. And then you just sort of become one of the few respected voices in that space. It's like, hey, well, I'm talking about like my friend Angel, for example, is a CPA. I ask him a lot of accounting questions. My personal accountant, also, super crypto literate, same kind of thing. It's just like, all he did was do a shitload of research and figure it out. And then lastly, for Nick's question, kind of also about just the role of AI with regards to developers and writing code. I am not a software engineer, but my father is an extremely accomplished one. And I asked him this very exact question just the other day when I was at home. And his answer was that he can tell not anytime super soon will an untrained, unexperienced, non-technical developer or software engineer be able to just sit down with an AI tool and really crank out like good, usable code. The thing that you have to have in order to even prompt properly at this point to get truly usable code is the ability to talk like a dev, which honestly just requires coding experience to, one, know that the code that it's handing back to you is not gobbledygook, or two, even if it's legit, that it's not just an absolute mess or redundant and unnecessary. But two, just to be able to properly describe things in a way that it can understand what it is you actually want and go back and forth with it enough to get to usable code. Because I know he tries quite a bit, and he personally does use multiple different AI tools to get stuff. I think the one he's using the most right now is Perplexity.
He should check out Data Robot. But on the topic of AI, so for those of you who don't know, I spent 7 years in the AI machine learning field. I am not a coder, but I was a sales rep and a consultant for Fortune 100 companies for 7 years. And one of those for 2.5 years was using a solution that is in the category of automated machine learning, or AutoML. And basically it's meant to say so that if you're a company, instead of hiring a team of data scientists, maybe you have a team of data analysts who can pump out code that is just about as good and then can be deployed into the business easily. So you're not paying a huge staff of data scientists, which can be paid like $600,000 to $1 million a year, depending on how good they are. Like a lot. It's very expensive. And so the question that was first asked to GC was, could you use AI to write the code for a game? And then I saw some very good answers in the comment section, which were all correct, which is that you'll always need human oversight. And So I sold into Morgan Stanley with this automated machine learning solution, into the Toronto Stock Exchange, a number of other financial institutions. All of them afterwards, this should have been a tool that could have threatened data scientist jobs because it would increase efficiency of people not as qualified to them to be close to them. They increased the size of the staff. The reason why they did that is because, just like Alex said, when you had this code, you need people with enough knowledge, particularly in heavily regulated industries, to be able to go and explain to auditors why the model is making the decision that it's making. And you also need the ability to not just make sure that the code that it's spitting out is correct, but that the system itself is working correct, because AI models still need to continuously be retrained and recalibrated to ensure they're accurate. So it's a continuous system of checks and balances between humans and AI models. I just wanted to add on that. I know it's not Web3, but you know, it's right in my wheelhouse. Had to take it.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing at that comment from Nick. So you need babysitters. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You need babysitters. We have to babysit these, you know, little tiny baby T180 Terminator Arnold Schwarzeneggers, you know, until they grow big and strong enough to go back in time to the 80s to try to kill Sarah Connor, you know? Well, guys, on the topic of Web3 gaming, any big topics, anything else that's on the forefront of your minds that you guys want to go over and discuss that you think would be useful?
Will, I was going to suggest that perhaps, since we do have the list of projects behind you, rather than do the usual, which obviously we don't have the time to go through the full overview of every single one, but honestly, we've touched on the important factors that include all of these different things. So everything we've discussed, I would say take those pieces and apply them to this stuff. But I was curious for both Michael and GC, if you look at this list, you know, could you pick out like one that jumps out as something that you could identify either like a big glaring red flag with, or something that you're like, I like the way that they're handling X, you know, whatever that might be.
Illuvium, red flag.
Yeah, I was gonna say Illuvium, the biggest red flag ever.
I wanted to before you guys jump into it, let me give a little bit of context, because one of the reasons I wanted a WolvesDAO representative here tonight was because Illuvium was on this. And this is another thing that people on TikTok will look you dead in the eyes and confidently tell you that Illuvium is just upper echelon, like top dog, epic, everything is great, looks amazing, whatever. And that is not necessarily the case. And Sam Stefanina actually just posted, I think, the full video of his interview with the Illuvium founder. And it is a tense interview. I recommend watching it. It's on his Twitter. But could the two of you give us a little bit of the context? GC, I know we were just
GC, go in there
on the last gamified and simplified spaces, but can you shed a little light on the Illuvium drama right now?
Yeah, I mean, one of the developers came forward and basically talked at how poorly they were using all of their money, all of their funds, that they have basically zero experience in game development roles, at least successful one. And to be honest, it's something that you just look at the game and you look how it's so bad. Like, it's so bad. One of the version of the game is just a really, really bad teamfight tactics that no one wants to play. And the innovation is a never-ending open world with nothing to do. That's nothing. That's nothing. Like I played. Yeah, like it's so bad. It's funny because I talked with a couple of friends like around 7 months ago from my uni, because I took a computer science course, and all of them are game devs in Web2 companies right now. And I asked them to test out Illuvium, and all of them tested it out. And not a single one of them gave it a higher note than 3 out of 10 in terms of experience, and not a single person of them thought it could ever be a successful game. And then when you have that such a shit of a game, which is just a fact, the game is just so bad, And then when you have a developer come out and admit how bad it is and how poorly they manage their funds and how basically they just keep scamming money from the big VCs that don't understand how these games work, and they keep giving them money because it's all just a big Ponzi scheme. I would describe Illuvium as Decentraland 2.0, basically, because it's gonna have the exact same price action as Decentraland has had so far, or even Sandbox. But I think Decentraland is even slightly worse than Sandbox. And I think give it about 1 year, and we can compare both graphs in terms of their token, and they're going to be the exact same.
Yeah, I think you're spot on about that. Because there's so much hype around Illuvium, and people are like, oh, the NFTs look really, really pretty, and you can take a good little clip and make a good little marketing video out of it. But yeah, I recently went to go. It was on Immutable X. I went to go, let me see if I have the chart up. I went on DApp Radar, I think, and I went to go see how many unique wallets were associated with Illuvium. Can you guess? I want you guys to guess. How many wallets do you think are tied to Illuvium that are active?
Oh, God.
Oh, it's going to be so low.
I want to say it. I'm just going to take a shot. I'm going to say 1,500.
1,500. GC, what do you got? And this is on DApp Radar.
I think it's in the. I think it's in the 3 digits. I'm going to say
Can
700.
can I ask a clarifying question? When you say
Yeah.
active, are we talking monthly active users or DAUs, daily active users?
I'm not sure which one DApp Radar had up on that. Let me see. So it is the number of unique active wallets interacting or performing a transaction with a DApp smart contract over a period of time. So that's useful.
Okay, so probably monthly active users. I'm fine with my 1,500 as.
Oh, here we go. No, this
I'm
is
fine
24
with
hours.
my
24
700.
hours. It's 24 hours.
Oh, 24 hours?
Oh, whoa.
I'm going to say less than 100.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
going to say 65.
Yeah,
Alex?
in a day, I honestly would not be surprised if it's sub 50.
It is, and it's better now than it was 2 hours ago. 10.
Oh, damn.
10.
Okay.
And 2 hours ago, it was 8.
Hold on while I go dump my entire life savings into ILV right now.
Yeah, it's by the way, that 10 unique active wallets, that is up 43% from yesterday.
Guys, it's the team. It's just the team.
So what you're saying is Concord is doing much better than Illuvium.
Yeah.
Probably half of those
Probably.
wallets are from the team as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, guys, we need to buy. Everybody needs to buy something today. We'll give you the funds.
Do you guys
So
remember?
wait, actually, this is slightly better. So Illuvium Land was 10. Illuvium Beyond is 8. So, it's 18 across their ecosystem. So, it's basically double, guys. 80%.
Anyone buying land in 2024? I don't know what to tell you.
I've got some NFT land to sell you.
Yeah.
Well, so here's one interesting thing. DGI Games, right? Their whole shtick is that, you invest in us, we have cash flow from land that we rent out in Big Time, which is a popular game, at least it was. And DGI got attached to some big crypto influencers here on TikTok. DGI price went up. DGI prices come really, really down as their cash flow kind of dried up from the Big Time rental of land.
I think the problem with projects like DGI is the whole business loan makes negative sense.
Exactly. It's a terrible business.
The
plan.
business just exactly. The business just doesn't make sense. Like when if someone told me, "Can you give me money to run this business?" I ask the business. He tells me that's the business. I'm like, "Okay, you're delusional. I never want to see you again. It's been a pleasure to meet you." So the fact that some people invested in it, they deserve to lose their money. At least maybe they'll understand after that, to never do it again, right? I think that's the main issue here with projects like this. And DGI and any project that does stuff with renting, that's just why? That's the only question I can really make.
Yep.
Yeah. So I made a couple videos on this. I made one video where I was like, I think DGI might be a rug pull. And then the big influencer, who I won't name, contacted me. He's like, "Oh, dude, I think you got it wrong." Fuck, I'll name it. It was Ty.
Yeah, fucking Ty.
he contacted me. He's like, hey, I think you got it wrong. He's like, can I set up a phone call between you and the team? And I was like, oh shit, I've never had this happen before. I've never had the opportunity to talk with the team. So I spoke with them. Really good guys, like genuinely trying their best. But on the call, I was like, so do you have any other ways that are going to be like additional diversified ways of cash flow for when big times revenue just stops and plummets? And they were like, they had a few ideas, but it was down the pipe and they were all soft. And I was like, cool guys, great to talk to you. And I made a video where I was like, if you invest in this, you are investing in the most fragile house of cards you possibly could. And any Web3 gaming play, and I'm doing air quotes around this because I wouldn't consider DGI games to be a Web3 gaming play.
Right.
It's just like a way of creating a dividend stock, if you will, that gets money from Web3 revenue streams. But anything that builds their business model off of one single source of land rentals is doomed to fail, not just eventually, but pretty quickly.
Also, I'm going to just comment that phrase Web3 revenue stream, I think it's a little bit of an oxymoron because I don't know. I'm going to say 99% of Web3 games and platforms don't have revenue streams. So Web3 revenue streams don't really exist. That's my 2 cents, other than token go up speculation.
At least certainly not in yet, because it's really tough to tie legitimate revenue streams to the actual like functionality of the token itself.
Correct.
Wherein, like if you were to break down a good example, I'm trying to think of an example of like a legitimate revenue stream. Okay, honestly, if you take ETH and the amount of stuff that gets settled on chain with all of the things that run businesses on, regardless of whether or not the thing itself, the protocol that we're talking about using ETH, making legitimate revenue, they are paying the ETH fees to do the thing. And this is ETH revenue for being the maintainer security layer of that entire thing, whether or not it's a house of cards. So ETH earning revenue there where other people are kind of propping up a Fugazi. So keep that in mind. Very good point.
Yep.
Also, we spoke a lot about Immutable X. And we mentioned a little bit about Avalanche, some things kind of being built there, but, it seems more so like a marketing ploy. But what about Merit Circle DAO and Beam? I'm curious to get both of your opinions on that organization, because they seem like a very, very well-organized, well-met, good organization in terms of helping to build Web3 gaming. But I am separated from that. You guys are much closer, so I'm curious if you guys have any opinions there.
I think Merit Circle and Beam are actually better than most people realize. Like I would rather invest in Merit Circle and Beam than I would in 99.99999% of gaming tokens.
Same.
Maybe the few that would be above it would be like Ronin, and that's almost kind of it. And I think the reason why is because Merit Circle and Beam, they do not really give a single schnitz about going with hype marketing and telling people like, oh my god, we have this great game coming to us. They don't care. They help the games they believe have the gameplay and the whole ecosystem that could actually become someone and something. Whereas we see some of these bigger chains, and for example, we can talk about the Say chain, which I think we all realize by now it's a complete meme, and all the quote-unquote games they say they have are nothing. It's like they do all this marketing and they do the amazing marketing saying, oh my god, we have a 50k prize pool and a 300k content creator program. And I'm like, to create content on what? On trash? Then yeah, sure. I mean, people create content on it, but after a month, no one will know a single project that I created content on. You're down 350k. You didn't help the projects because the projects you have are trash, so they never really needed help because they'll disappear in 3 months either way. And now you burn to probably another 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 million of the money that you got from Silicon Valley investors that they don't even know the definition of Web3, and that's just a never-ending loophole. Whereas Merit Circle and Beam, it's the opposite of that. It's people that love Web3, that do Web3 because they love it, they do gaming because they love it, they understand game development, they understand ecosystems, they understand how, if it will be possible to create revenue with Web3 games, they understand how that could be possible. And you don't see them signing games just because there's hype. You don't see them signing like creators with 100k to 100k followers. That 95% of followers are bought. They don't care. And I think that's the beauty of Merit Circle and Beam. And I think we can attach it kind of to Ronin when we talk about that. Like, you don't see Ronin signing games just because they're one of the pickiest motherfuckers in Web3 gaming. And you can see why, right? Because every single project that you see going to there have like really good things going for them. Tatsumiko just went there. It's one of the most hype gaming projects I've ever seen for a long time. The Machines Arena, probably one of the best projects in terms of pure gameplay in Web3 so far. We have Aperon as well, which is an amazing game. Like, if Aperon was Web2, I would probably play it once in a while. And that's a lot to say for a Web3 game, right? So I think that's the beauty of Merit Circle and Beam, is when you have founders and people that actually, they don't give a single fuck about following the quote-unquote rules of the scam and Ponzi and hype, you get what they are creating.
Yeah, I'll say very briefly, just because you brought it up, GC, and it's such a good point that I didn't even think about until you said it. The existence of creator programs and creator incentives for nonsense games is such a red flag. And the thing that I would compare it to, just for reference, don't quote me, just like look at this as an example. If I think of the biggest name in mobile gaming, the first name that pops into my head is the Supercell company.
Yep.
Supercell, who is doing has done, they just crossed last year, I think, $10 billion in revenue from what? 4 mobile games? That company just started a creator program, and it's not that populated. Okay, and this is in a world where one of my favorite gaming YouTubers, Flash with Ash, who does like Clash Royale strategy stuff, and has been doing it for years. I fucking love that guy. That dude was like just crushing Supercell related content for a long time. There's a lot of Supercell YouTubers, and the creator program took years, 10 years to come out. And even that, it was a tough move. It was a big deal. So like, yeah, no, for sure. When you say that,
as it should be as well. And
for sure.
And what's funny is that what they don't realize by creating these content creator programs is you are actually killing the natural incentive to create program on your stuff. Because then people won't care about finding the people that do it naturally, because they just follow the ones that are doing it for money, because they have all the alpha, because the teams give them the private alpha instead of giving them to the public, as it should be. Then what the problem this creates is as a community overall, you're killing your community, which is the opposite of what you want to do in Web3, because community is the whole reason why Web3 should even exist. Then you're incentivizing bad actors in your scene, because most of these content creators that come for it, at least for most of the programs, which are total shit, they are just there for the money and to make a quick buck and then go on to the next meme blockchain incentive creator program. So it's like, it's red flags on red flags on red flags. And when you get to the bottom of it, the value they extract from it is actually beyond negative, right? So what's funny about that is that what they think is something positive is them burning through normally at least $500,000, like it's paper to wipe their ass, and then thinking that anything positive come out of it, where it's like the opposite, right? So I think it's just funny that some of these products think they're doing something so great and incentivizing people and small creators and this and that, whereas the reality, and this, like, you see projects like Merit Circle being run and doing the opposite, where it's like, okay, this creator has been creating content for a month, 2 months, 3 months. They really like our stuff. They really like this game. Let's start sponsoring them. That's what makes sense, right? That's how Web2 works and game works, and for at least most part, early on as a creator. And that's how it should work. Because otherwise, you're basically shielding your own products through a third party. That's what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. And then you can see the content is fake. Not a single person will look at the content from those people and be like, oh, this is nice, I wonder why they're talking about it. Even if people say it's not sponsored, you can smell it from a mile away. So it's like, bro, just get over it.
Yeah, and that is just, in my personal opinion, like a byproduct of just like human nature, which there's a strong like greed part of human nature. And like we say it in crypto all the time, we're like, we always joke where it's like, oh, we're going to make this, we have this great idea of something that could really be useful to people. Let's make it a Ponzi scheme. You know, it's like, that's always like the crypto thing. But I mean, even if you go back to like the .com boom, you had people taking like the weirdest, dumbest ideas and putting it on the internet. That at the time,
Stamps.com.
Yeah. Like anything.com, and like valuation exploded, things that didn't make sense. And at the time, you know, it was new technology. So no one really knew what to do with it. It's the same kind of thing here. New technology, no one really knows what to do with it, which provides an opportunity for people to come in and, you know, take people for a ride, if you will, or at least get a very big payday quickly, unless you have morals like Alex. And then he doesn't get the Lambo to go to Malta.
Wherever that gets me.
Yeah, whatever. It gets you. We like you. We
like you, Alex. We like you.
Yeah. We love
I'm gonna go ahead and call my mortgage broker and tell him that I have the support of my friends. So give me a month off.
Let's lower these rates. Yeah. Oh.
Just for the record, though, Will, because you're so right with the .com thing, there were degens. Like, they didn't call themselves degens, but I vividly remember the guy. Do you guys ever remember seeing the website, the Million Pixel Project? It was it was a college project that this kid did, where he did a single web page with just a million pixels on a square page, and he sold each pixel for $1 and made $1 million like in a week. And that website is still up. Go Google the Million Pixel website, or whatever it's called. Million pixel page, million pixel website, something. It's archived forever. You know, it's a piece of internet history, but it's just a big like advertisement banner with a bunch of little squares on it that all link out to different people who like bought the link from it.
Funny.
Super cool. I could totally see that being an NFT project, and that's it. There it is.
I mean, it looks kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Isn't it neat? It looks like a Beeple painting.
It does.
How do we turn it into a Ponzi? Let's go.
Michael, I was just about to say, can I mint it?
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to stop you.
I'll copy and paste, put it into Paint, throw it into Base, and then just mint that. Yeah. But it's cool. Yeah.
That was a fun little moment of internet history and trivia there for you guys. Okay, so as we start to wind down here, Will, I'm curious if you want to do like a rapid fire like grade assignment to these things. Like if we were to kind of combine all of the stuff that we talked about tonight and just like, you know, boop, 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 even if we just did a few of them. And kind of, you know, maybe some of the highlighted ones. Yeah,
we'll do that, but also we'll promise for these to go into like a little bit more of a deeper dive. But so I'll go through really quickly. So again, guys, we have Immutable X, Beam, Illuvium, Forgotten Playland, MYRIA Games, DGI, and Big Time. Now, these, well, actually, forget this one. These are individual games. These three are gaming infrastructure plays. And then this is whatever you want to call it, right? It's just like a staking dividend play, right? So for Immutable X, as like a project from technology, I would give it an A. As an investment, I'd give it a B. Beam, I'd give it an A minus as like a product, maybe even A even. And as an investment, I'd give it a B plus. Illuvium, F. Forgotten Playland, I know the game looks fun. I haven't had a chance to dive into it much as an investment, so I want to be undecided on that. MYRIA Games is just a far worse version of both of these, in my opinion, and doesn't have any new games coming out on it for a while, if I remember correctly. So I'd give MYRIA a D. I'm not interested. DGI, I would give an F. In Big Time, I know it's big, but I would like to not comment on that for now, just because I don't know enough of the stats. So that's what I'd give.
Fair.
Yeah. Michael, you want to take a crack?
Michael?
Yeah, no, I'll definitely go next. So I agree with the IMX one. I'm going to give that an A. I'm going to give Beam a B, only because it hasn't been around long enough for me to give it an A. There's nothing I see wrong with Beam. It could be an amazing investment for this cycle, especially with AVAX marketing team going ham as they are. So it could be a really, really great investment, but I just need to see a little bit more from it to get an A. So I'll give it a B plus right now. Alluvium, I'm giving a D. We've already been over it. Forgotten Playland, super, super fun. It's a really, really cool game. I see it all the time. From one of the creators who is a part of the team. My only hesitation is I don't like to invest in coins that are only for a singular game, only because in the gaming industry, in the traditional gaming world, I'm not going to invest in a singular game either. So it's like, why would I invest in an even more speculative token for an individual game? But I will say Forgotten Playland is fun and could become kind of like the Fall Guys of the Web3 space. So I have nothing but good things to say, and I hope they succeed in this current bull cycle that's coming. It could be a really, really good investment, but like long term, I just don't like to invest in singular game tokens. MYRIA, I actually got pitched by them in 2022 to join their chain. Great thing to say. They don't provide anything better than IMX or Beam. They're basically a worse version of the two. Very nice guys, but nothing distinguishable for them from IMX or any of these other layer twos. DGI, I'm not going to even comment on. Big time, I wouldn't, just for the same reasons why I said before. I just don't like to invest in singular game tokens because at the end of the day, if the game sucks or even if it's amazing, 3 months later, everybody might forget about it and move on to the next shiny toy. And if the game doesn't have users, it's dead in the water. So I'm much more bullish on the infra plays for gaming than I am for the singular game tokens.
Yep.
But that's just me.
Same here. DC, how about yourself?
So I don't think I'm not going to talk about DGI, Luvium, or MYRIA because they're the trash in this group. So there's no point. I'll give them a Z from A to F. Then going on to the next ones, I think AMX right now is probably like on a. I'd give them an A minus. I need to see games coming out of IMX that I recognize as a potential powerhouse, and I'm still yet to see one where I can clearly say that. So for now, A minus. Sure. Beam A minus as well. I don't see a reason why they are different to IMX at the moment. They're kind of in the same spot. And then Forgotten Playlands. Is like exactly what was just said. Amazing game as an investment. This is iffy, right? So overall, I'll probably just give them a B. Then Big Time, like if you like to play Ponzi schemes, Big Time is a potential great investment. If you don't, because I was shit talking Decentraland earlier, and if you don't know, one of the founders of Big Time is the previous founder of Decentraland. So I think once again, this is gonna do the same thing as others. And the major issue I see with Big Time that people like to recognize, although their economy is decent, I have to recognize that their economy model is pretty alright. But when you look at the gameplay, loop is one of the most boring things I've ever done. Like it's really bad. Like I actually tried playing the game for maybe even 3 months or so, and the gameplay look was you kept repeating it after maybe like half an hour in the game, and then the problem is that you do that for 3 months and you think, oh, if I check the game on 6 months from now, surely it will be different, and then it's the same thing. Then you start getting worried, right? Because as just a fan of games, if you're playtesting a game and you play it 1 year later and it's the same thing, you know something's wrong, right? Mainly when you have that much investments in it. They have so much money to do better. They're probably one of the richest gaming projects in Web3 right now. So it's like, Where is it going? So I think that's what worries me about Big Time.
That's
so
a
I'd
great
probably give it like a D minus.
Yeah, that's a great question because Big Time is making a lot of money, but where the hell is it going? Yeah. Alex, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I don't have too much that wasn't said already to add, but I'll echo some sentiments just to follow up, I guess. Forgotten Playland specifically, I am excited to get Mikkel in here and have her talk about the game a little bit. She's working on the growth and marketing team for the game. And she was going to be here tonight, but as she just said, she got pulled away on a side quest because her kid was unexpectedly still awake when she got home, and so she was not able to join us. But she will join us on a future stream and get to talk about Forgotten Playland specifically. So if there are questions about it, I haven't personally played it yet, so I've seen her stream it, but haven't played it, so I need to do that. With regards to the other ones, I completely agree. DJI, I genuinely know nothing about except what I've heard Will talk about and the conversation it led into, and the fact that Ty shilled it is a hard pass for me. Big Time, I was originally approached to be sponsored by Big Time back when it launched, before there was a token and all that sort of stuff. And at the time, it was just basically like the brochure, and I looked at it and I was like, this looks cool. I would love to talk to you. And I never heard from them again. So they ghosted me. That was rude. Immutable and
Hey, that's good for you, because I know they actually didn't pay creators that worked with them for like over 9 months ago. So
yeah, it was the funniest part about that, GC, actually, was that like 2 years after that initial reach out happened, they DM'd me again and asked me basically the same word for word thing, now that I was like much bigger on TikTok. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, and I just copy pasted the screenshot from the first reach out. I was like, I tried to connect and now XYZ, whatever, I'm all set. And they just, after that, then they have truly never said anything again. And I just left it alone. But so funny story. Immutable and Beam get higher marks for me, just because I think they're super interesting. When we were originally looking at places to go for our NFT ecosystem back in the day, we looked at Immutable kind of before, there was the gaming focus, when it was more of just kind of I hate to say it, standard ecosystem. And it was really interesting. There was a lot of like really dev-friendly tools for our dev team, who was all Web 2 devs with, all of their product experience came from the Web 2 side. And so they were kind of looking for like that ecosystem with the best onboarding, and Immutable was up there. So I always kind of gave them high marks for that, even going back to 2021. And then Beam, much newer. I am lucky enough to have gotten to speak to Mark from the team a little bit, and he's super nice, and the project is super interesting. One that I would add to this list that is equally interesting, and perhaps a conversation for another day, is Arcade, just because I hold them up as an example of what happens when you get absolutely shafted on TGE with something that's out of your control, and just how hardcore it can kneecap your project basically forever, which is just really, really unfortunate. And honestly, that's like a beacon for why you might skip TGE and like build the thing first, because, oh man, like, God, that sucked. It hurt me so deep to watch that happen to them. For reference, KuCoin listed the wrong token on their drop for public sale, and took 8 hours to fix the problem. And they've pretty much never recovered from that. So Illuvium, same thing. I was excited to get your guys' take on it, because all I know is that it's a dumpster fire. So Illuvium gets my no for the night. I'm not even going to get the grade, just a straight up no. And then MYRIA, same thing. So IMX and Beam are both A's for me, just because I do really like them. From an investment point of view specifically, I would agree completely with everything you guys just said. Beam is a little bit newer. I'd like to see a little bit more of a testament, but I mean, I am excited when I see them post, and I thoroughly enjoy getting updates from them, because it's just that's a solid group of people right there.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's all the time that we have here. But Michael GC, can you let everybody in the chat know where they can find you, learn more about you, and stay up to date with your projects and all the things you guys are working on?
Yeah, absolutely. Follow me on obviously TikTok, Tatted Lawyer, Twitter, follow the Andromeda. It's ANDROMETA instead of DA, so it's Andromeda with a T. But yeah, definitely come stay up to date. We're gonna be launching a lot of cool stuff over the next 3 months, including a VTuber platform, the second playtest for our mobile game. We have this really, really cool thing launching in November called MetaCity. We have solved the actual interoperability aspect. We created our own 3D model. Come stay up to date. Check us out. Got a lot of cool things cooking. I'm actually going to be talking to Sam about it after Token, GC. So I'm excited for that.
WolvesDAO, yeah.
Nice. Awesome. GC, how about yourself?
That's cool. Yeah. So I'm mostly on Twitter and Twitch. So Twitch, just the Gcrod, and then Twitter, Gcrod_. Then on Twitter, in my bio, I also have the project I work for right now, which is Gaming Chronicles, and basically just gaming community. So if you just want to learn about Web3 games, you play games, we have all these fun competitions, and we have basically daily prizes, weekly prizes to win like $100, $200, $250. Some of them even more, free NFTs. So you can just come in. We do it for like actually the love for the games and not for the money, which is something that's still new in this space.
So
but
rare.
yeah, if you want to come around, just explore.
Awesome. And guys, we'll have links to both of them in the Discord, as Alex said in the chat. If you want to get access to the Discord, you can follow the links on my profile page or on Alex's profile page or at the riseupmorningshow.com. Hop into the Discord. We can help you get access to a community that we have built. And also get you access to a bunch of additional resources to help you as you try to navigate this on-chain space safely, securely, and hopefully profitably. But thanks for tuning in, guys. It was a little bit different than what we had originally planned, but this was a better conversation and more useful conversation for people here trying to learn about Web3 gaming. And again, I think that Web3 gaming is the #1 use case on the blockchain that will adopt the masses. What was that?
I said Web3 gaming is inevitable.
Facts.
It is inevitable. I think it's the crypto use case, Web3 use case that will get the masses on board. DeFi and Bitcoin and Ethereum have been great for getting the world of finance on. Now we need to get the masses on, the regular people here, and I think gaming's that way. So GC, Michael, thanks for hopping on. Alex, thanks for hopping on. As always, guys, we'll see you in another weekly episode next Wednesday, and we'll see you guys in the morning for the Rise Up Morning Show tomorrow bright and early. So thank you for the time. Have a great day. Do good things. Be good people. Wash your skin. Drink water. Get a good amount of sleep. Go see your family. Make a bunch of money. Do all the good stuff. See you guys.
You guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.